Miai, matchmaking lit. Looking at one another or Miai is a Japanese traditional custom in which unattached individuals are introduced to each other to consider the possibility of marriage. Miai or Miai is sometimes translated as an arranged marriage in other languages. Miai has done for centuries in Japan what can be described as a meeting opportunity with more serious considerations for the future. Some Japanese people consider that descriptions of Miai in non-Japanese languages do not match reality in Japan. Ren'ai kekkon, lit. Love marriage, a Western ideal introduced after World War II, is sometimes seen in contrast with Miai marriages when translated. Therefore, they feel that foreigners have misconceptions, that the two are incompatible, and that Miai marriage have less love, or that there are strong interference by parents. The same people believe that marriages that result from an introduction through a Miai meeting can lead to a love marriage, as the process of courtship can lead to a couple deciding not to get married. Miai is also a common go term. It is a concept for describing pairs of moves for which if either one were played then the opponent would immediately play the other. Both alternatives would have equal significance for the game, so there is no advantage for either player to initiate the exchange. The Miai concept is frequently used to simplify analysis of go positions. History. The practice of Miai emerged in 16th century Japan, among the samurai class, to form and protect strong military alliances among warlords to ensure mutual support. Later, during the Tokugawa period, 1603–1868, the practice of Miai spread to other urban classes trying to emulate samurai customs. Miai was a solemn practice, and involved considerations that aren't given as much weight by most modern Japanese, such as family bloodlines and class. This type of Miai is usually seen portrayed in films and television dramas. After the Pacific War, the trend was to abandon the restrictive arranged meeting system. Modern forms of Miai are still practiced in Japan today, although they are no longer as prevalent as they were in the pre-Meiji era. According to research by the National Institute of Population and Social Security Research, in 2005, it is estimated that around 6.2% of marriages in Japan are arranged. Participants. The participants in a formalized Miai process include the candidates, who are to potentially be married, and the families of these candidates. However, Miai can take place without any involvement of the prospective couple's families. NakDo. A NakDo, matchmaker, serves the role of a go-between for families in the Miai process. A NakDo is not necessary for all Miai. The NakDo can be a family member, friend, or matchmaking company. Professional organizations have begun to provide go-between services for inquiring candidates. These professional NakDo are known as PURO, Pro, NakDo. The general purpose of the NakDo, especially the traditional way of Miai, is to provide introductions for people entering a new arrangement and to assist shy candidates. The NakDo is expected to play a variety of roles throughout the Miai process. The first is the bridging role, hashikake, in which the NakDo introduces potential candidates and families to each other. The second role is as a liaison for the families to avoid direct confrontation and differences in opinions between them by serving as an intermediary for working out the details of the marriage. Even though Miai marriages are not as common as they once were, they still hold a place in popular media. One example is Wedding Bells, a game show that substitutes for the role of the NakDo in which contestants are introduced and screened for marriage possibility. Selection process. The initiative for the Miai introductions often comes from the parents, who may feel that their son or daughter is of a marriageable age, tekaraki, usually in the range of 22 to 30, but has shown little or no sign of seeking a partner on their own. Other times, the individual may ask friends or acquaintances to introduce potential mates in a similar way. Parents often subtly interject the phrase "onegaishimasu," I make the request, into casual conversation, which implies that both parents have consented for their daughter to meet eligible men. The daughter may be unaware that her parents have suggested her availability, though their use of onegaishimazu. Moreover, some parents send a candidacy picture to a future husband, or go-between without their daughter's knowledge or consent. Parents may enlist the aid of a NakDo, or ask a third party, with a wide range of social contacts, to act as a go-between. The word Miai describes both the entire process as well as the first meeting between the couple and the NakDo. Miai signifies that the parties were brought together expressly for the purpose of marriage on the initiative of the parents, a friend of the family, or a go-between. It also means that the initial criteria of selection were objective ones. The potential mate and their family meet with the NakDo and examine all eligible persons. The NakDo often has photographs of candidates, and a hierarchy show a small personal history. The hierarchy show frequently includes the name, age, health, education, occupation, and marital status of all members of the candidate's family. The families then sit down with the NakDo and screen the portfolios to eliminate any obviously inappropriate candidates. The photographs and hierarchy show may be brought to the home of the potential mate's family for the son or daughter to scrutinize. The participant and their family examine the photos and short personal histories based on an investigation of social consideration. The education level and occupations of the potential candidate's family are the first aspects taken into consideration at this meeting. The potential mate and their mother create a list of primary choices and ask the NakDo to investigate the first choice. In more selective Miai, the candidates and their families are judged on a large set of criteria aimed at determining the suitability and the balance of the marriage. This criteria is formally known in Japan as igara. It includes level of education, income, occupation, physical attractiveness, religion, social standing, and hobbies. Many modern women are stereotyped as looking for three attributes: height, high salary, and high education. This is commonly known as the 3Hs. The participant's bloodline, ket, plays a large role. Many fear that a candidate's blood is contaminated with diseases such as epilepsy, neurosis, or mental illness. The fear is so prevalent that the Eugenic Protection Law of 1948 was passed to legalize sterilization and abortion for people with a history of mental defects and other hereditary diseases. Social status also plays a large role in selecting a candidate. Ideally, paired candidates and their families should be of equal social status. A candidate has a hard time finding a mate if his family is not of a matching social status as the other family, even if the candidate is of equal social status. Family lineage can also affect the quality of a candidate. For example, a candidate with samurai blood is more likely to be picked than one with ancestry from a different Tokugawa class. Investigation. The NakDo provides a substantial amount of information regarding each candidate. The family researches the igara of each candidate provided by the NakDo once the preliminary list is constructed. Vast differences in igara between the two families would cause embarrassment to the sides whenever they meet. One method of investigation in urban Japan is through a kushinjo, or detective agency. In rural areas, a common investigative method is to personally ask about the family of interest by questioning shopkeepers and neighbors, kachikiki, inquiry of mouth. More recently, the NakDo gathers information about the family in question by asking around and comparing responses. Kikkawazaru/do-reawazaru, inquire variously, and compare. If all criteria are acceptable, the matchmaker arranges an interview for a Miai. Introduction. Before the Miai occurs, the parties scrutinize each other's pictures to prevent future rejection. Although candidates rely on their photographs and resumes, hierarchy show, in the modern Miai process, an older custom known as kagami hidden look was once employed. Kagami occurred when a potential male candidate attempted to catch a glimpse of the female in secret. The objective of the kagami was to prevent embarrassing denials based on appearances. The Miai itself is a casual meeting between the potential couple, the NakDo, and the parents of both parties. The NakDo determines the place and format of the meeting. The Miai is just as much an opportunity for parents to survey the bride/groom as the couple themselves. The meeting begins with an informal introduction between the two families by the NakDo. The introduction is often followed by small talk between the parents. Occasionally, the conversation shifts to one of the potential candidates. Toward the end of the meeting, the potential couple are advised to go off spend some time alone to get better acquainted. Kotawari, excuse, apology, refusal. If the initial MIAI introduction is successful, the potential couple goes through a series of dates until a decision is reached. The decision is usually expressed at the couple's third meeting. If the potential couple chooses to marry one another, they go through a formal marriage process known as Miai kekkon, in which a betrothal ceremony, yuin, is arranged by the groom's family. Contrastingly, there are standard provisions to turn down an offer or proposal, with relatively little loss of face on the part of the party refused. Discrimination. There is some amount of racial, class, and genetic discrimination in the MII process. Many Japan-born Koreans are discriminated against for being half-bloods not of full Japanese ancestry. Women born on the year of the horse in the fifth cycle of the Japanese lunar calendar, Hinoyuma, every 60th year are thought to be bad luck. Women born during this year will often claim to have been born in the previous or following year. The belief is so widespread that in 1966, according to the Japan Statistical Yearbook, the birth rate in Japan took a 26% dip. The most widespread class discrimination is against members of the burakumin. This former outcast group is composed of descendants of workers traditionally associated with trades involving blood, death, or other undesirables. Some examples are leather workers, shoe menders, and butchers, since shoes are too dirty to be taken into the house and meat was in the past forbidden by the Buddhist faith. During the Tokugawa shogunate, demotion to burakumin status was sometimes a way of punishing criminals. Today, burakumin members may be identified by the region of the city where they live, or by their street address. Often, a NakDo will require a candidate to bring a family history to prove that they are not a member of the burakumin. Members of the Ainu, an indigenous people from the Hokkaido region, are commonly avoided as well. Descendants of people who were exposed to the radiation from the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki are avoided due to stories of possible child deformities and susceptibilities to rare diseases. Attitudes. Modern attitudes toward MIAI have changed significantly. According to an estimate in 1998, 10 to 30% of all marriages that took place in Japan during that time were arranged marriages. The National Institute of Population and Social Security Research in 2005 estimates that 6.2% of marriages in Japan are arranged. The younger generation is more apt to adopting the Western philosophy of love, where marriage is often preceded by romantic courtship. Romantic love, Ren'ai, implies that there are no constraints against selecting individuals whom one can marry. However, it is not always possible to classify a particular marriage as love or arranged because of parental influence on the candidates. Women are more inclined to seek a romantic relationship than men. Gender enculturation is often seen as the cause for the discrepancy. Women are raised with the expectation that they may only find satisfaction within the home, and are therefore perhaps more susceptible to modern brands of idealism, such as that true love will be followed by marital and domestic bliss. There are several methods for meeting potential mates that differ from the structure of the MIAI. For example, Kanpa, or Kumpa, companion, is a method young people have adopted into modern society. Kanpa occurs when groups of 4 or 5 boys go out together with the same number of girls to see how they all get along. This method has become more popular since it is highly informal and does not involve parents. Gender and MIAI. Although current rates of Miai marriages are fairly low, the persistence of Miai in modern Japanese society can be explained by examining gender relationships. As discussed earlier, people who are past marriageable age, tekkon, are more likely to use the Miai process. The idea of the cutoff age is taken quite seriously. There is a tendency for women who remain unmarried past tekkon to be treated as inferior and compared to Japanese Christmas cake, fresh up until the 25th, but on each succeeding day the cake becomes less appetizing. A newer expression replaces Christmas cake with tashikashizabe, a dish of noodles to see out the year on the 31st. Males seem to possess only a bit more latitude. A man who does not marry by about 30 is considered untrustworthy by colleagues and employers who believe that such men have not been conditioned to learn the fundamental principles of cooperation and responsibility. For males, marriage also makes an implicit statement about staying in the family business. Males who engage in Miai often occupy dominant roles within the marriage. Miai marriage has been criticized for promoting patriarchal relationships with traditional power structures and distinct divisions of labor between males and females.